For 2 years, I stole from the business my best friend and I built together. I let her think we just had a bad accountant. She trusted me completely, right up until the day she found 3 years of bank statements I forgot to shred. This isn't a story where I got away with it. This is a story about the day it all came apart and what happened after. Priya and I opened a small boutique together 6 years ago. We'd been friends since our early 20s, and when she asked me to co-run it with her, she'd handle buying and design. I'd handle the books and daily operations. It felt like the beginning of something we'd both dreamed about for years. We split ownership 50-50. I had full access to every account. The first 2 years were genuinely good. The shop was profitable. We were paying ourselves modestly but consistently, and I loved the work. Then, my personal life fell apart. A relationship ended badly. I had debt I hadn't told anyone about, and I started panicking about money in a way I'd never let myself feel before. It started small. I'd round a business expense up and pocket the difference. $100 here, $200 there, always covered with a vague receipt or a rounding excuse if Priya asked, which she rarely did because she trusted me with the books completely. That was the whole point of our arrangement. She didn't have to think about the money, because I was thinking about it for her. Once I saw how easy it was and how little she checked, it got worse. I started creating small fake vendor invoices and paying them into an account I controlled. Over about 2 years, it added up to just over $31,000. I told myself every single time that I'd pay it back once things stabilized. Things never stabilized, because I kept spending it as fast as I took it. When Priya noticed the shop's margins looking thinner than they should some quarters, I blamed a supplier price increase, a bad batch of inventory, slow foot traffic, always something external, always plausible. She had zero reason to distrust me. We were best friends. She'd literally stood up at my wedding. The idea that I was quietly bleeding our business never once crossed her mind, because why would it? I told myself constantly that I wasn't really hurting her, that the business was still doing fine overall, that this was a temporary fix. I know now that's exactly the kind of thing people tell themselves, right up until it stops being temporary and just becomes who they are. Last spring, Priya was doing a full audit before we applied for a small business loan to expand into a second location. She asked me for 3 years of old statements to hand to the accountant, and I told her I'd handle pulling them together. I meant to shred the ones that would expose the fake invoices. I got busy, I got lazy, and I left one folder on the office printer overnight. She found it the next morning before I got in. By the time I walked through the door, she was sitting at the desk with the folder open, and she just looked at me and asked, very quietly, "What is this?" I didn't even try to lie. I think some exhausted part of me had been waiting 2 years to be caught. I told her everything, right there, all at once, the debt, the panic, the 2 years, the exact number. She didn't yell. That was almost worse. She just sat very still and asked how I could let her think it was bad luck for 2 years while I was the reason. I didn't have an answer that made it okay, because there isn't one. We didn't end up in court. I signed a repayment agreement, sold my share of the business back to her at a steep loss to cover part of what I owed, and I'm still paying back the rest monthly, 3 years out from finishing. She kept the shop. I haven't set foot in it since. We're not friends anymore. Not enemies, she's not cruel about it when we run into mutual friends, but the daily calls, the years of history, all of that is just gone. I don't think either of us knows how to be around a version of the other person who did that, or found out about it. Some weeks, I think that's the fairest outcome. Other weeks, it's the loneliest thing I've ever sat with. I make the payment on the first of every month. It's become this strange ritual, the one remaining thread connecting us. And it's a debt, not a friendship. I've had a lot of time to think about why I did it, and I keep landing in the same place. It wasn't really about the money after the first few months. It became about not having to admit I'd failed at managing my own life. Stealing quietly felt easier than one honest conversation with my best friend, asking for help. I traded a friendship of 15 years for the ability to avoid one hard conversation over and over for 2 years straight. So that's my confession, not one I got away with, one that finally caught up to me, exactly the way these things usually do if you let them run long enough. I don't know if I deserve to be forgiven for it. I don't think that's really the point of saying it out loud tonight. If you've ever had something you were hiding finally catch up with you, tell me how it happened. I read every comment. See you in the next confession.